Well, she's a queen. She's a fucking queen. A healthy man wants to be devoted to a queen. And for a boy, a queen is fucking scary. Because a queen won't play mommy with you.
Yeah. This is my really, really good friend Kaylee, and we really wanted to have a chat about divine union, coming together with healing the inner feminine and masculine. We've had so many chats about this, and they've always been so enlightening, and we thought it'd be amazing to just like share in that discussion. And yeah, I feel like I've learned so much through your reflection of this. Yeah.
Yeah, it feels so alive, and like it's just it's this thread that can lead us to a way healthier earth, and it shows up in our own being and in our relationships and in culture and everywhere, but it really comes back to ourselves and really reuniting the constellation of parts and these primary energies. So I'm glad that we're talking about it.
I'm so curious what your journey with your inner masculine and feminine has looked like.
Yeah, I would say when I was younger, I definitely felt way more identified with the masculine. I was raised very much in a way that I would imagine a boy to be raised, because my father really had the dominion over the household and over all teachings and really everything. And my mother was more of subservient and mirroring kind of just whatever he said. And so it was really his current and his energy that began to shape my own self-perception in many ways. And of course, also her perhaps lack of presence was still very alive and shaping just much more in the background. It's funny because I felt more identified with the masculine, but I also very much rejected the masculine, or at least the idea of it being healthy in my life. Like I was 6 when I proclaimed, I will never have a man, I will never have a husband, I will always do life alone, because I just knew I didn't want to be in the role that my mother was in, which was very, in some ways, slave-like. And yeah, it brought me on a very challenging journey throughout teenage years that involved a lot of sexual trauma and sexual violence. And it got to the point where after some very extreme, bloody and violent events, I literally watched myself return to someone who had done such extraordinary harm to me because I had so little self-worth. And that really began a massive journey of healing. And yeah, it was like it ended with such a low of literally going back to someone who had raped me. And then coming out of that, going into a year of celibacy, I swung to the complete other side where I just turned so internally to resource my self-worth. And I think that's really how divine union began for me, was out of that very dark pain of the lack of, the self-resourcing, self-love.
Yeah. So is it like you were seeking a lot more externally in the start, and then you came more into that inner union?
Yeah. In the beginning, it was like completely offloaded onto these various like masculine figures. I mean, this was all in high school. So it was like their status, how they looked, these shallow factors. And it was very much like, well, if this man or this boy of, this nature likes me, then like I am complete. I have made it. I am all that I want to be, really. Yet consciously not really knowing that this was going on.
So you were kind of like reenacting the slavitude of like, I need to be a certain way in order to be accepted. Is that kind of how it played out?
Yeah, it was like, if he doesn't like love me, even though I'm not proclaiming my feelings, even though I'm going for the most toxic person that's based only on this very like shallow set of qualities. But if he doesn't offer me that external pump of my self-worth, then it was like extraordinary pain. And it just led me to a lot of really dangerous situations and accepting unacceptable behavior. And then only through like a complete ego death in my life, really, did I come out of that and reform my perception of self and also relationship. But it took taking that complete step back and going into a period of celibacy. That was extremely important. Yeah.
So what did that celibacy phase, how did that support you?
Yeah, I think for one, at this point, I was so traumatized, I could not feel any of my lower body, no connection to like my root chakra or sacral that I could really feel. It was all numb in my awareness and couldn't take a breath with my stomach, and just so many different assaults and so much trauma that I just needed that like complete spaciousness to begin that healing. And I think also at an energetic and psychological level, like just getting out of those toxic patterns, flushed the energy and also gave me the spaciousness to reevaluate and like figure out who I was, figure out how to show up for myself to heal this deep pain. What about for you?
Yeah, I feel like I've always had that dream of every princess movie of like finding the prince, and I think it's very much ingrained in how we grow up to seek for that savior in the masculine. And I feel that, yeah, the masculine figures in my life were more passive and not as present. Physically present, but like that deep presence of like seeing me. And yeah, I found that I seeked it out a lot, seeking out that validation externally. I've come a long way from that place. And then especially recently, I feel like I got to like another whole other level of that, of I can't overlook this core wound, and the core wound is beyond this lifetime. The core wound that I'm realizing is like the first separation, the first forgetting that I'm connected to everything. And so I've been like going back to that core wound and allowing myself to fully feel it. And as I've fully felt it, I'm like, no, I'm separating. And like as I'm in that, I realize it's a joke and it's fake and it's just an illusion. And so it's been really cool. Like, it's so freeing to completely dive into that core wound. And then as I dive into it, I'm finding union with the separation. And then I'm no longer separated.
That's
Yeah.
beautiful.
Yeah.
I can imagine such a sense of safety comes back online by moving towards it instead of away from it as well.
Yeah. Yeah, and I've been exploring like the ideas about there's like soulmates and there's also twin flames. I don't know if twin flames are real or not, but one way it was like described is just like, yeah, just the internal twin flame. It's like our inner feminine and masculine is within us, and finding that inner union. I feel like so many of my ceremonies and my journeys, my intention is just inner union, divine union within. And I feel myself dancing with myself. And like, I let myself, I feel like I heal a lot through stories and archetypes. And I feel like that's the basis of all creation is stories. It's like, that's what we come from, and that's why we're here, to experience the story of life. So yeah, I've really been allowing myself to, like, if I go to some dance, I imagine that I'm dancing with a masculine version of myself, and he's holding me, and it's like this fairy tale story of the two of us, and then I allow myself to be led by him. I allow myself to receive, and I let myself play out the fairy tale dream, my heart's desire internally, and I realize that I can create that inner union.
Beautiful.
I'm curious, like, what your experience of inner devotion, like, how have you poured into yourself that allowed you to come into more wholeness?
Yeah. Well, after that period of just extraordinary pain, it reached a point where I had to make a kind of very deep, almost existential commitment to myself. And yeah, it was at a point where it was like, okay, I have to end my life. This was my experiences. I either had to end my life because I'm in so much pain, this sexual trauma keeps continuing, or I have to change everything. And I think that was my first real step of devotion, was to choose to change everything. And so the celibacy began. I began meditating every day. I was doing various ceremonies just with myself, and I healed my PTSD in 3 months all by myself. And I came out of this period like so deeply in love with myself, and also just alive and connected to God. And I was just at a state I had never even been in before in terms of positivity and well-being. And that was the beginning, and that devotion has continued and amplified through many challenges. But I think the biggest thing is, like, when life throws something extraordinarily intense my way, it's like my masculine is so there to show up, to work and like create the conditions for my feminine to feel fully, to go into whatever emotion, whatever pain, whatever it is. And there's this, real symbiotic relationship between these parts of myself that are like going out and taking action and doing the things to create better opportunities for myself, healing, moving towards what's the most self-nurturing thing. And in some ways it's really like that inner parenting. And then also me feeling my feelings and allowing myself to receive that, like, whoa, I really love myself. Like, I'm showing up in this extremely brave way to create safety and like life and just a chance for myself here. So I'd say that's how it showed up in the more like extreme sense, when really big things have presented in my life, like the earth-shattering moments. And then of course it shows up in a more like micro daily way in, I guess all of my choices, and ultimately like knowing I can give whatever I need to myself is one of the most liberating knowings really ever. Wow. Like, what's more safe than that? What's more relaxing? What's more blissful and like peaceful than knowing that you just are it all, and you don't have to like divorce yourself to think that you have to turn outside of yourself, like give yourself up, like sell your soul in a certain way. It's like I can be that for myself in the highest version of it.
It makes me really think about, like, there's been times where I've been attracted to certain men, I've like been drawn to them, but then I realize what I'm the most drawn to is like their ambition and their drive, because a part of me wants that, wants to integrate that part of me.
Right.
And it's like I'm going from I need a savior, I need a prince to come save me. It's like I'm gonna save myself. And there's the David Data like 3 stages of relationships. And the first one is the very traditional household, like there's a housewife and then the man gets the money and they need each other, but it's also like codependent, and without each other they're like nothing.
Yeah.
And because of that fear, there's also like control on both sides.
Right.
And then on the second one, it's integrating your opposite. So if you're feminine, you're integrating your masculine, vice versa. And then you come into more wholeness and you're feeling complete and you can hold yourself. You don't need somebody. And that is an amazing place to be. But then sometimes we get stuck there. It can end up being a defense mechanism.
Yes.
When you're like, I can do it all by myself.
Right.
And if you are naturally feminine leading, when you're so strong in your masculine, a part of you is protecting yourself. It's like a protective layer. The same with for men when they are too much in their feminine. And so the third stage is when you realize I can be both, but I want to be able to relax into my feminine and be held by the masculine. And yeah, I think it's important to not skip over the second stage, which is to hold yourself and make sure that all your needs can be complete in yourself. Yeah. So then when you choose a partner, you're not coming at it out of such a scarcity that you need to manipulate. You're coming into it from wholeness, both people. And from that place, the love is more true because you're not giving out of manipulation, you're giving because you have fullness, you have hands full of abundance to give.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like true freedom and true choice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, something that came up while you were sharing that is just the sense of what an initiation it is when you do make it to that third state. Because we think it's just easy to like receive and have beauty come into our lives, but it can be so activating in many ways. And there's such stages to it. So I'm curious, like, yeah, kind of when you felt that you were reaching that stage 2, what kind of took you to stage 3?
Yeah, it's so interesting. I've been very much feeling more in stage 3. And then sometimes when you're in stage 3, there's a part of you that gets needy again than you feel in stage 1. You're collecting all parts of yourself, and I feel like I've been coming into, am I worthy to receive all of this, and reaching that upper limit. And I think the more that I've integrated my dark feminine, that has been how I've been able to receive more. Yeah. And that's been a huge thing that I've felt in our exchanges. But yeah, I feel like the dark feminine is very important because she's a bitch, and she lets herself be a bitch, and she lets herself ask for what she wants, and like that whole book.
And be angry.
And be angry, yeah.
We love her. We love her.
It's so good. It's so good. Because I've been like a good girl all my life. Like, just so afraid of, because I wasn't allowed to be anything else but good. And that was a survival mechanism to be good. And because of that, the dark feminine comes out in unintegrated ways, sneaky ways. And then I'm like, oh no, how did that happen? How did I create this scenario where I caused harm? Oh no. The dark feminine just wants to be able to ask for what she wants straight up. Mm-hmm. And that whole book, why men love bitches.
I remember reading that.
Yeah.
That year celibacy, yeah.
Yeah, it's there's a reason that they are drawn to that, because they also desire the medicine of the dark feminine, and because they also desire the growth that comes there. And sometimes they might be drawn to the unintegrated dark feminine until they're ready for the integrated version of that.
Well, she's a queen.
Yeah.
She's a fucking queen. And a healthy man wants to be devoted to a queen. Mm-hmm. And for a boy, a queen is fucking scary. Because a queen won't play mommy with you.
Yeah. And the boy's like, I want to do this, and I want to trigger the mommy to come out. But the queen's like, I see you.
Rise up.
Rise up.
Rise up or get out now.
And how have you integrated this dark feminine queen?
I've had
Okay.
I've had 2 great loves. Actually, that's not true. I've had more than 2 great loves. I've had 2 primary male partners that have been beautiful love relationships. And honestly, I think the dark feminine for me came, it became integrated after I connected with the mother, which was so important because if you think about this process of, returning to wholeness and being sovereign, we have to meet ourselves in that motherly love and really rebirth ourselves in a sense. And so I connected a lot with the mother in ceremony. And then becoming pregnant, that was really the final initiation for Kali to really come online. And yeah, I really did a deep dive with her and connected. And there was just this day where, the pregnancy triggered my lover into returning to the boy state. And it revealed all of the shadows that we were not addressing in the relationship. And this motherly instinct of like a bear growling, stay the fuck away from my cub. That energy came over me as he was trying to kind of really convince and control the outcome of this pregnancy. And it was in that moment where I saw the holiness and the purity of anger as this outward moving of love. Anger is so fucking filled with love. Anger gets the worst reputation. I love anger. Anger is one of my favorite emotions. I'm not saying I'm just going to go around and scream at people, but there's such a holiness to this outward boundary setting, manifestation of love. It's all still love.
And it's the most loving thing to the man that you're speaking to or to anyone you're speaking to when it's coming from truth.
100%. Yeah, and then that really carried into my current partnership in the beginning, where it was in the past, there would be lots of moments where I'm very sensitive. So perhaps something would happen and I would feel wounded by him. And in the past, I would almost coerce myself. Okay, it's fine. It's closed. Move on. But the real change was allowing that full spectrum of my experience, not rushing the healing, letting it take its full time and simply knowing when to move into the masculine and also set that firm boundary, communicate with the sharpness, with the clarity. I'm covered in the forest. With the clarity, allow Kali, just lay it down. Lay the fucking truth down. Because the feminine has this oracular nature. You know what's up. You know what's up. So when you communicate it with that boom and boom, this is my boundary. This is the standard I'm setting. It provides him that opportunity to grow in the way that the masculine grows, which is initiation, challenge, conflict, the opportunity to rise, actually go through something, go through a process of transformation. And now it's he worships me in that sharp fucking bitch energy. He's so grateful for it. And it has found its place in our relationship and also in my own personal life as being as holy as anything else. And I don't think I would have the health and immense inner devotion and also that being reflected back to me through life and through him if it weren't for yeah, just like that full spectrum feminine fierceness.
Yeah, like it's also so important to have wholeness in yourself, that you're not afraid of losing anything.
Exactly.
You already have everything. So from that place, you can speak with boldness and allow that truth to cut like a sword. And it's like, are you on this side or are you on this side? It's up to you. And that amount of strength and lack of fear is what's needed for him to take it seriously too.
Yes. And it's love because it's freedom. He has the choice to
He has
not
the choice.
rise.
Yeah.
Like, go on your separate way if that is your deepest truth right now. But if you want to be in this co-created like life together, then you have to stay true to yourself, and you can't do that if you need something outside of yourself.
Yeah. And I feel like the feminine is currently shifting through so much of the wounded healer, of healing while you're bleeding out. Like they're stabbing you while you're healing them. Like you don't need that anymore. And we've done that enough, and now we need initiations. We need gates that they must enter before they can receive the teachings.
Yes. Okay, this brings up something so strong, which is like over revealing like your emotional process and just like the full spectrum richness of something I witnessed was there's times where my emotional like richness and expression was so massive and so full of like all these different bits of truth and like beautiful reflections to him that would completely change his life and amplify his existence. And I'm just, I am being a mirror in the relationship. I am seeing this and I'm offering it up, but I'm also bearing my heart. And like, what I learned is that is a fucking gift to allow him to witness that full spectrum emotional opening. And if he cannot hold that and you're just like volcanoing it, like that is self-harm.
Yes.
That's what I realized. It was self-harm.
There's nowhere that it's going, nowhere that it's being held.
Yeah, it's not being held. Wasted truth. I mean, and
do not cast your
pearls
before
of swine. Yes, exactly. And in those situations, it's like, okay, my beautiful divine masculine, like I can hold myself. I can reach out to my community. There are all these other ways of processing. I don't have to just give him all of this when he can't hold it, and it's not being revered for
what it is.
Yeah, like it's and that's part of that boundary setting, right? Because if you just keep giving and giving and giving, how is that why would he change? You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Like, why do you think you're going to change him?
He can just keep being a baby.
Yeah.
Just sucking on Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's also like, if he doesn't want to change, he has that right. But if you want to be held in that, you also have that right. So you gotta like make that space.
And this is what they say with like, men want freedom, but the biggest thing they want freedom on the deepest level is freedom from their own chains, their own masks and illusions. And so through the union and the connection with the feminine, if they dive deep enough, they will free themselves. And I see it in a visual of like 2 open books or something, like just like peeling as you guys are coming closer and closer, and it's just like light being revealed.
Beautiful, yeah.
Yeah.
I love that book visual, and I think, into the more kind of fundamental masculine and feminine of like the substance of form and of awareness, and like that merging where she is opening in her like full expression, like the life, the form, the ever-changing nature, and like that deep awareness is able to hold that.
I'm feeling into like my journey with seeking and like there were subconscious games that I was playing that were creating outward games with the masculine, both people playing games for love. And it came from like a physical and emotional, psychic leakage in my sacral. And like the energy was not being guided upwards. And I feel like a lot of women and men are not aware of how much they're leaking the energy out. And even if they're seeking love, they're attracting like people that are using them for sex and all these different things because it's leaking out. And there's so many ways to guide that energy. One is like the very physical, practical, take your creative life force and create something, build something solid, tangible, hold yourself physically and create safety for yourself. And then there's the energetic, yeah. And yeah, it's like we can have pleasure that leaks out, or we can have pleasure that we create heaven around us with what we build. And then the energetic of the Kundalini process of breathing, directing, guiding the energy up through the spine, and so many practices that support that as well. Like I remember I was feeling like this leaking energy, and then I tried one jade egg practice, and it was like
Right.
strengthening my cup, and my cup was holding all this energy so that it can be supported. There was like no longer a leak in my cup, and I didn't have to find someone to fill my cup that would continue leaking out.
Yeah.
Never filled.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm so curious, like, as this process has unfolded for you, how would you say that you relate sexually? Like, what changes would you say, or like boundaries you set, or standards you have now that maybe you didn't in the past? Because I think this is like a very, these are kind of like the byproduct, embodied changes in your lifestyle that comes from this greater self-respect, I guess is the word I'd go with. Yeah.
Like I've never had like a sleeping around phase, but I feel like in the getting to know in relationships, there was more of a going sexually at his pace. And I think that now I've come into so much more slowness. And even when parts of me, like a lot of times it's like I have a lot of energy. I was like, woo, let's connect. But then I pace myself. My masculine comes in, my queen comes in and is pacing because it's important for the initiation for him as well to put in a certain level of investment to get to a certain level of the curtain. And for me, there, like, I think back to a time that I might have rushed it and he didn't put in the investment. And then he thinks that he got what he wanted, so he leaves. But I am at a loss because there was no investment, and he did not actually receive the true gifts that I had to offer because it wasn't earned.
Right.
So both people are at a lack. And so now I pace and I listen to the compass of my womb, of my yoni, and also it's important for me to, and I want to more, is to go more into self pleasure, self practice, so that I can self source and I don't need it externally. Even like just gentle touch. I was recently finding out how important oxytocin is to female hormones, and how we can bank up our oxytocin by like holding ourselves, having like a warm pad, like heating pad, something like every day, so that we are actually increasing that hormone in our body. And so that brings us into, it like lowers cortisol and like does all these things. So we don't need to seek out even that emotional comfort or touch from a man. Even our friendships, we can like bring more cuddles into our friendships. Yeah. How has your process been with self-sourcing and the leaking of your feminine energy?
Yeah, I would say I could very happily never have sex ever again. I guess, yeah, I've had a lot of extraordinarily rich erotic experiences with God, and really gotten to tangibly experience during my Kundalini awakening, like, yeah, just like my masculine and my feminine and just that inner merge, and like just watching it unfold in my body in such a like incredible way, that after that experience it was like just really laughable, the idea that I like would ever need that from someone else. You know, unless that was like a full yes and they were meeting me in that level of devotion that I meet myself, because it's so high. That's the standard. Exactly. Yeah, with my current relationship and like experiencing this beautiful partnership, it's interesting because as different things arise, and as we've settled deeper into this place of like like meeting one another and complete, not needing one another, but and what a beautiful gift of and joy to be able to meet in that space together, but on the path to really like amplifying our own personal experiences of sovereignty. There have been times where it's really been important to take space sexually, because I do think that, yeah, it can enforce separateness.
Yeah.
And I don't know if I want to use the word exalted, but a sexual experience, erotic, it's life, it's what creates everything, and it is so holy, and in its more baser form, which of course, like, I don't mean this to insult that kind of more animal, primal, or rather objectified sex. I think it's so prevalent on the earth, and it's clearly something that many of us go through to come out of it and see, oh, we want something so much richer. But that just going to sex when all is not
Like
all is not
using it
well.
as a band-aid.
Yes, it can reinforce the separateness, and I think like taking the space and then coming back really to that self resourcing, and then when it's a full yes from both people and they're in their own sense of wholeness, and then coming back together, that can be such a beautiful process, rather than just continuing that on when there is that unhealthy dynamic, because it's likely only to get mirrored and perhaps even amplified in that sexual and creative arena or space. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like there's this idea that if we get to a certain level of connection, there's no stepping back. And that is constantly ebbing and flowing. We are always individuals first, and we can listen to, like, our bodies are, there's so many consciousness. Every cell is like its own consciousness in our body. And we are honoring this piece of nature that is us. And we can listen, like maybe your heart is a yes, but your womb is a no. And so you wait until every part of you is yes.
Exactly. And I think especially for like the feminine, it can be the mind's a yes and the body's a no. And it, yeah, there's such an important path of like honoring the body's voice.
Or using sex in order to keep him, to make him love you. Yeah. And I think that was one of the things when I was younger with going faster sexually, is that for me it's bonding, but then for him, if he isn't at a certain level of love and depth, it can make him more distant.
Right.
And it is our internal compass that tells us when connecting is going to actually connect us both closer or bring us further apart.
Yeah. That was a lovely opening.
I know, right?
Yeah.
And we're going to have so many more topics to explore, so you can watch out for the other ones coming on divine union. Yeah, it'll be on both of our pages, so you can check the description.